But this video is about my story and testimony of how I received the gift of tongues and how I started to speak in tongues for the very first time. So to cut a very long story short, I became a Christian in 2005. I had a radical encounter with God outside a nightclub when a young man came and he preached the gospel to me from John 3:16. Fast forward a few years, I'm in church, um, I'm being discipled, I'm growing, I'm reading every Christian book I can find, I'm reading my Bible, I'm going to conferences, and I'm learning that there is something about the baptism in the Holy Spirit and the gift of tongues. There seems to be a connection in all my seeking, in all my reading, in all my discovery. I noticed that those who received the baptism in the Holy Spirit often received the gift of tongues, and they would testify that tongues really helped them in their Christian walk and helped them in their relationship with God and that in everything that God had called them to do. So my home church at the time wasn't very Pentecostal. There weren't a lot of manifestations of the Holy Spirit or the gifts of the Holy Spirit. At that time, I was really hungry for the gift of tongues. I was really hungry for the baptism in the Holy Spirit. I was getting pastors to pray for me. I was getting my youth pastor to pray for me. I was getting every Christian I could find who believed in the Holy Spirit to pray for me. I was crying out to God. I was praying. I was seeking. I was looking. I was searching. I was saying, God, I want to be baptized in the Holy Spirit. God, I want to speak in the gift of tongues. And this probably went on for about over a year. Now, I didn't get disappointed. I didn't lose hope. I believed that God was a good God. Jesus said, how much more will the Father give the Holy Spirit to those that ask? And then one day I was just walking home. I was walking in the street. I was walking home and I was praying. And I was talking to God. And I said, God, I really want to speak in tongues. I said, God, I really want the baptism in the Holy Spirit. And after a whole year of begging God, crying out, praying, getting everyone and their cats and dog to pray for me to be filled with the Holy Spirit, I heard God speak to me. And he said, Ashley, I already have. And it was like a light bulb moment. I was like, what? It's like God was like, Ashley, I've already baptized you in the Holy Spirit and I've already given you the gift of tongues. And it was a light bulb moment, man. It was a mic drop moment for me because I was like, I've been spending over a whole year begging, crying out, getting everyone to pray for me for something that I already have. And I said to God, I was like, God, how? Like, if you've already baptized me in the Spirit, if you've already given me the gift of tongues, how do I speak in tongues? And then I got this sense, this awareness that it's faith. And I was like, we're still walking, still praying, still talking to God. I was like, right, God, if you've given this to me, I'm just going to step out in faith. And I didn't know what I was stepping into. I didn't know what I was reaching for. Like, I didn't know what tongues was. I didn't know what it felt like. I didn't know what it sounded like. I didn't know what I should feel or experience. Like, this was like walking off a cliff. I didn't know what I was doing. But I said, all right, God, I'm just going to step out in faith. I'm going to open my mouth and I'm going to trust that the words that come out my mouth is the gift of tongues. So as I walked and took a step, a physical step, I took a step of faith in my heart. I opened up my mouth and I just started to speak. And when I spoke, this strange language came out. Now, at the time, in the moment, I was like, is this my brain? Is this the gift of tongues? Am I making this up? Like, is this real? And I thought, you know what? I'm just gonna keep doing it. And I the whole way home, I just spoke this weird language, right? And I only had like 3 words. Like, I didn't have a lot of this, but I was excited. By the time I got home, I was like, I think I'm speaking in tongues. My heart was excited. I was really like super amped, super pumped. I was like, yeah, I'm speaking in tongues and I have been baptized in the Holy Spirit already. But anyway, about a week later, I went to a Christian conference. It was a youth conference, like 14,000 kids there, all worshiping Jesus, amazing atmosphere. And I started to speak in tongues during worship. And it was when I was speaking in tongues during worship that it was like the language birthed. It's kind of like what happened while I was walking in the street was like, just before a woman gives birth, she starts to have the pains, like the baby's coming, the baby's ready to pop out. You know, it's kind of like the body's getting ready to deliver this baby. It was kind of like while I was at this Christian conference, the gift of tongues, the language just went like this, just through the roof. And I was speaking in this language, and it was just new to me. It was exciting. It was, you know, the full vocabulary of it, if you want to call it that, just came out. Um, so I'm doing a video. I might as well give an example. So this is where my gift of tongues, what it sounds like for me anyway. Shandarabasia kerebashundorobasendere nasia karabashundoromasundorobasiendere nasharabasatarabakiatarabasundo. Orobakiataramaseketendere bashiandaramasundo. So like very first time that comes out your mouth, you think like, that's weird. Like, what is that? And it is, right? It is strange to our natural mind. Now, I didn't have the full maturity of that when I first started speaking in tongues while I was walking that street, but it grew, the gift grew. I realized the night that I became a Christian, that because of my encounter with God was remarkable. It was unusual, and I don't say that pridefully. It's I met God in a very powerful way. I've got a YouTube video on my channel if you're interested in what you want to hear the full story. But the night I got saved, God sovereignly filled me and baptized me in the Holy Spirit. It's just I didn't realize it because everything I read in Christian literature, everything I saw online, everything that people told me about the baptism of the Holy Spirit, I was always told that it's a separate event. People get saved, then they get filled with the Spirit. You know, but my story is very different. I got saved and filled with the Holy Spirit without anyone laying hands on me. God just decided to do it that way. And I think there's a lot of people who maybe are seeking the baptism in the Holy Spirit, or seeking to speak in tongues, that already have the gift and have already been filled with the Spirit. They just need to take that step of faith and step out into flowing in the gift. So that's what it was for me. I was just spent a year and a half praying, begging God to baptize me in the Holy Spirit, asking for the gift of tongues, getting pastors and leaders and youth pastors and Christians and everyone and their cats and dogs to lay hands on me and pray for me. And I never ever once felt an infilling. I never got slain in the Spirit. Nothing ever happened. And I think it's because God wasn't going to answer a prayer that's already been answered. I was asking for something that He's already given me. It's like God gave me a Christmas present. I just needed to take the wrapper off, you know. And God was so merciful. On that street, I heard His voice so clearly. Ashley, you've already got it. You've just got to start doing it. So that's my testimony. That's my journey into speaking in tongues. I'd love to pray for you. Just put your name down in the comments if you want to receive the filling of the Holy Spirit. If you believe that you need a baptism in the Holy Spirit, if you want to speak in tongues, I would love to pray for you. Please put your name down in the comments, and we'll see what God does. Thank you for watching. God bless you.